Okay, so today's video is called PK Experience. It's basically going to be a video about my experience as a PK, the good things about it, the bad things about it, part of my testimony, the things that it would be nice if people who were not PKs would understand, all of that. If you clicked on this video expecting any salacious stories or church bashings, I'm letting you know that now. That's not what you're going to be getting, but it is just a for real sit down conversation from one PK to all you other PKs out there, or those who may not be PKs and want to know what it's like to be a PK, our experiences, how we feel, what we're thinking, how we maneuver and go through life as a PK, how we go through church as a PK. All of that in this video. Stick around, let's get into it. All right, for starters, I was born and raised in church. The church I attend, my grandfather was the pastor when I was younger. Then when my grandfather passed, my father became the pastor. So my entire life I have been in church. I've been a part of the first family. I've been a PK, whether it's been pastor's grandkid, pastor's kid, the preacher's kid, the preacher's daughter. My whole life, that's what I've been in. That's what I've been a part of. For the most part, I have enjoyed being a PK. There hasn't been a whole lot that was horrible. I will say a lot of times the acronym PK or pastor's kid, a lot of times it gives a negative connotation. There's a lot of stereotypes that come along with it, which can be frustrating to maneuver because I don't like stereotypes when it's in any area or any topic, because I don't feel that all are that one way. The same way with the negative connotation and stereotype of pastors' kids, that all pastors' kids are sneaky, pastors' kids are whores, pastors' kids will be the worst ones in the church. In my experience and in my case, that wasn't it. So for me, it would be frustrating when you would hear, and I would hear people say these things, oh, she's a PK, so that means she's this, that, and the third, and I really wasn't that. For me, growing up, I was really trying to do what I was supposed to do. I was trying to be right. I was trying to live right. I wanted to make God happy. I wanted to please God. I wanted to please my parents. I wanted to please my grandparents, because that's the world I knew. That's all I knew. I didn't know anything different. I didn't see my parents live differently in the house than I did in church. I know in a lot of cases, sometimes that's why PKs struggle, because their home life is a whole lot different than what they see in church. I was been blessed enough that my home life was not any different. My parents weren't totally different people at home than they were in church. My grandparents weren't totally different people at home than they were in church. So for me, that aspect didn't mess me up too much. I would say sometimes for me, what the pressures were or the frustrations was from the saints, the people that attended the church. They were the ones that would put the stereotype or the pressure or the connotations or the expectations on you, as well as people outside of the church. That part wasn't too bad from early on. When you're real little, some stuff you really don't have any record or knowledge of. I would say for me, once I got around to the age of 7, 8, that's when I started noticing a lot of different things. And then that's when I started feeling the pressures of certain things. Growing up, I was very shy, very quiet. I kept to myself. I would cry very easily, because I could feel everybody's emotions on top of my own emotions. Like I would be nervous and I'd have to stand and do these things, and I would cry every single time, every time, without fail. I couldn't stand it. And I felt that everybody watching me and looking at me couldn't stand it. So that was making me more emotional and more upset, because I'm crying and I'm trying to get this done, and I'm mad at myself for crying, and I feel everybody else is annoyed with me for crying. So I had to deal with all that. And it didn't help that at the time, my grandfather, God rest his soul, I loved him, but it didn't help him calling me a crybaby, because then that just made it worse. And it made me even more not want to stand in front of people and do anything, because I was afraid I was going to cry. So from a young age, I would say around 7, 8, 9, all then that's when I really had to start being in front of people doing things. And it wasn't often that I had to do things by myself, whether it be announcements or if it was like some type of youth service and I'd have to do the presentation to the guest preacher and all that. I couldn't stand it. And I didn't like the fact that, oh, because I was who I was, I had to be on the program. I had to be one of the ones to stand in front of people and do something. And I didn't understand why, because if I'm uncomfortable with this and I'm crying through it, let me sit down. Let me just do the part that I'm comfortable with and not have to stand in front of people. Now, don't get me wrong. It was necessary. It was needful. The training has helped in a lot of areas. But I'm saying as a kid in my 7, 8-year-old mind, I loved church, but I would dread those type of services when I knew I was going to have to stand in front of people and do something. And to hear mothers of the church at the time, oh, well, you're pastor's granddaughter, you got to say something. You got to do something. You got to be on the program. Everybody's tiptoeing around you and trying to force me to be up in an upfront position. And I didn't want to. At the time, I didn't feel I was ready for it. Emotionally, I was scared. And I didn't get a lot of the people working with me, I'll say, and coaching me on, well, this is what you say when you go up here. When you do this, you say this, and you do this, and you do that. I didn't have that. And it's not to slight anybody then, but my type of personality, that helps me. Even to this day, I still get nervous doing certain things, but it helps if I know this is how you do this. This is how you say it. Because sometimes just mimicking what I've seen them do, for me, it just feels like I'm being a copycat and I don't want to do that. But if you tell me this is the purpose of this, this is why we do this, and we say these things for these reasons, now you take this and you put it into your own words, that would have helped me as a kid. But being a PK and the pastor's grandkid, a lot of times it's assumed and expected that you already know what you're supposed to do. You already know what you're supposed to be saying because you're pastor's granddaughter. Oh, your dad is so-and-so. You should already know how to... How would I already know if nobody taught me? If nobody trained me? If nobody showed me? How would they know? How would I know? So sometimes that was a frustration with growing up. It's the expectation that you're just always supposed to know what to do, how to do, what to say because of who your parent is or your grandparent is. And that's not true. The same way they had to be taught and learned and watched, it was the same thing. We don't just know everything by sheer relationship, a bloodline. We have to be taught it. It has to be nurtured. It has to be matured. It has to be grown. That was one of the things that was frustrating for me growing up, is the assumption that we just knew already what to do and how to do because our parent was the pastor. Get to my teenage years in church, it can be a difficult stage because as a teenager, you're still trying to learn yourself. You're still trying to learn who you actually are. You're still trying to learn what you like and what you don't like. You're still trying to learn and process, this is what I was taught, this is what I was born into, and I know God is real, but what if we're wrong? I had those thoughts and those feelings. I'm like, okay, I know this is right. I know this is real. It's like, but what if we're wrong? What if we've been doing all of this for all this time? Jesus comes back and we find out that we were wrong. We're wrong. Everybody wants to beat you down with their denominational views and preferences, and it's this way. No, that denomination is wrong. It has to be this way. What if we're wrong? I went through all of that. I'm like, we're doing this, God. What if we're wrong? What if we've been doing it this way all this time and then we die and find out we've been wrong all this time? Now what? So I'm battling through. We're just supposed to already know. We already know how to do things, how to act, how to respond. Now I'm a teenager, and what if we're wrong? And now I'm a teenager that I know I'm anointed, and I know I'm called, and I know I'm gifted, and I know I'm set apart, but I want to be a teenager, and I don't fit in anywhere. I didn't fit in anywhere. Any group that I've ever tried to be in, they tolerate me. They tolerated me, but I was never fully in. I was never fully accepted. And as a teenager, that's a big battle and burden to carry because you feel like there's something wrong with you. I really felt like there was something wrong with me. Like, God, why does nobody want to be around me? Why does nobody want to hang with me? Why am I always the outsider, the outcast? I'm always alone. I'm always the loner. What's wrong with me? Which led me into making decisions when I got into college that I knew were wrong. But I was trying to find me. I was rebelling against God. I was rebelling against my upbringing. I rebelled against my calling. I rebelled, and not a big time rebel, but rebelled enough of, I knew I wasn't raised to do that. I know I ain't supposed to be doing this. And I did it anyway because I wanted to detach myself or distance myself from my church. I wanted to distance myself from pastor's daughter. I wanted to distance myself from anointed. I just wanted to be JaLissa and figure out who JaLissa was. Because growing up, I didn't fully really know. I felt like I always had to be perfect. I felt like everything that I did, because everything was watched, everything was scrutinized, everything was looked at, every face I made, every line, eye, tittle, wink, everything. So going through all that, then getting to college, and I enjoyed it. I still stayed in the same state. I stayed in New Jersey, but I went away up to North Jersey. So it was a 2-hour distance between where I grew up and where I live. North Jersey is definitely more city. And starting out when I was up there, I was still the same timid me. I was getting comfortable, trying to find my way. I had my little group of girlfriends that I had that we hung and we did stuff. That was first semester. Second semester is when I got comfortable. And now I'm like, oh, okay, I'm cool. Because I'm away from my parents. I'm away from this life down here. And what I do here, they can't see. All the while, of course, I knew and know God can see it. But I could distance myself from that and not be church girl, not be pastor's daughter, not be leader, everybody's looking up to you, not be, oh, you have to do it this way because you're called. Oh, not, oh, she's anointed, so she shouldn't do this and she can't do that. I didn't want any of that. I just wanted to be me, the college girl, living my best life, which I thought I was. I was running from the PK-ness. Of course, the call, but the life of a PK of you can't do anything. That's how I was interpreting at the time. I can't do anything because everything I do is scrutinized. So I'm in college. I'm living my life. I'm doing me. I went to clubs, not frequently, but I did go hang out at clubs. I had my seasons of being dressed very skimpy. I did drink. I had my seasons where I drank to rebel and try and distance myself, all in the name of finding out who JaLissa is. But I was trying to find it in the wrong places. The wrong places. Why? Doing stuff that I knew I wasn't supposed to be doing. And uncomfortable. And then to add insult to injury, every time I was somewhere doing this stuff, every time there was somebody there who was always, you don't look like you belong here. Do your parents know that you're out here doing this? You don't look like you should be here. And it would piss me off. And why did it piss me off? Because they were right. And I was annoyed about being called out on it. Annoyed. Because I knew I wasn't supposed to be there. I knew I wasn't supposed to be doing that stuff. I knew my behind should have been in my dorm, doing what I needed to be doing, sleep, studying, whatever. No, I want to be out hanging out, trying to be cool, trying to be like the rest of the people that I was hanging out with. While they were looking to me to be the light, they knew I was church girl. They knew I was saved. That was my nickname. But yet I was still trying to be like them when that's not what I was supposed to be in that group of friends. But no, I gotta be me. I gotta find out who I am, when who I am and who my identity is and was never in the stuff and the things of this world. My identity always has been and always will be in Him. The main thing that I was trying to run from. And in my mind, I'm telling myself, oh no, I'm not necessarily running away from God. I'm just trying to run away from that stuff, that part of it for right now. I'm gonna go back to it, but for right now, I wanna do this, and it don't work that way. Because everywhere I went, they still saw exactly who I really was. No matter how much I tried to mask it, how much I tried to cover it, how much I tried to drink it, how much I tried to half dress it, they still saw who I was. Still saw who I was. And then it would still come home some weekends I wouldn't. It got so bad, y'all, in college that I almost hardly ever came home. And it wasn't because I didn't want to see my family or see my parents. It had gotten so much to the point that it went further than just, oh, I'm rebelling, to I had just totally, that was become my lifestyle now. That was who I was now. That was no longer just, oh, you're in rebellion. That's who you were now. That's who I was. So I stopped coming home. And it had nothing to do with not wanting to see my family or not wanting to see my parents. It had everything to do with I knew I was wrong. And wrong doesn't want to be where right is, so right can keep reminding them that they wrong. I knew I was wrong. I knew I was called. I knew what I was doing was wrong. I knew how I was living was wrong. And I didn't feel like going home to have to really face it and deal with it and feel uncomfortable. I didn't want to be home and be in a holy and righteous space knowing that what I was living and how I was living was not that. Knowing it. To have to now sit in church, because for me, as much stereotype as people have of PKs, and that PKs will be out partying the night before and still sit up in church, huckabucking, I couldn't do that. That was not me. I couldn't play church. I couldn't play with God like that. It was too uncomfortable. I couldn't live how I was living and then still go home. And no, Sundays and Wednesdays we do church, and every other day of the week that we have church. I couldn't do it. So I stopped going home. Because I refused to present myself as if I'm this when I knew I wasn't. Or to put myself in the place of being okay when I knew I wasn't. And it's a shame that we do that. It's a shame that the place that we're supposed to go to and run to, we run away from when we're wrong. But that's what I did. I didn't go home. Very rarely did I come home. So now I'm finished with college and I'm living in North Jersey. I'm working, I'm living, and things were good. I'm talking to this guy and I'm in love with this guy. And it was little things that just started pushing me more and more back home to South Jersey. My apartment started having issues. The building, of course, it was old. Then there started to be roaches. And I knew I wasn't dirty, and I was seeing them other places. But then when I first lived there, I had no issues with them. Then all of a sudden I started seeing roaches a lot. And having to deal with that a lot. And then started having mice throughout the whole building. So now I'm petrified to even be home. When I tell you I was paying for somewhere that I hardly ever stayed at, I stayed at work more than I was at home in that season because I was petrified to be home. I didn't want to be home with the mice and the roaches. So I would be at work all the time. I would come home with just enough to shower and then try and go back out somewhere else. There were some times where I had to get over myself and brave it and sleep there, but it was just terrible. I would sleep with lights on, all this stuff on, so that I didn't have to deal with anything. You're sleeping and then you can hear the mice running around or scratching on the stuff, y'all. It was terrible. Then I had the traps out, and then you wake up and you see a dead mouse somewhere, and now I gotta find a way to dispose of it. It was just bad. It was bad, y'all. So then I was dealing with that. Then on top of the guy that I was in love with, so in love, mind you, every red flag possible that I knew is somebody I wasn't supposed to be with, but I was determined that I'm gonna show him how good of a woman that I am, and he's gonna wanna change for me. Dumb. So this guy, he up and tells me he's having a baby with some chick. When I tell y'all blow, a blow. And it was a blow, it hurt, but it was a blow more so to myself and being pissed off more at myself because I knew All the red flags that this guy is not somebody that you're supposed to be with, but because I wanted to be with somebody and I was tired of being alone and I wanted to be in a relationship, all this with somebody who wasn't even claiming me as his girlfriend. He wasn't claiming me. We were talking. So there was no commitment to anything in any way or capacity. We were just talking. For years, I did that. Years of talking to this person who made it clear that while they liked me and they were attracted to me, relationship and all that wasn't what they wanted. This man even went as far as to tell me he knew he was not good enough for me. He told me he knew he was not good enough for me. He knew it. And my dumb self still trying to make it work. Still, oh no, he has potential. I know you have potential. I'm loyal. I can bring you up with me. I can bring you up here. But all the while, I'm sure a guy looking down at me like, you idiot. I'm trying to save you. I'm trying to answer your prayer, the prayer that I had totally forgotten about. Totally forgotten about. After my little heartbreak when I was a sophomore in college, saying, God, the next person that I get in a relationship with is going to be my husband. And I totally forgot all about it and wondering why that wasn't working, and any type of situationship or anything wasn't working. Why does nobody want me to be their girlfriend? It wasn't that they didn't want me to be their girlfriend. It was God protecting me and answering my prayer. He would not let me get into a relationship with anybody, until my husband. He wouldn't let me. So then after that, we got the roaches, we got the mice, we got the heartbreak. And when I tell you heartbreak, y'all, I was heartbroken. I was depressed. When I tell y'all, it was bad. It was bad. I had lost so much weight. Like, I was so small. I wasn't eating. I slept. It was bad. I really had to go to God sincerely and pray myself out of that. I really had to. And then after I got through that and got over the hurt of it and the grips of it, I started getting my life together, back together. While I was still living in North Jersey and still working, I started making it my business to every weekend I would come back home. So I'm still living up there, still working up there, but I made it my business that every Friday night, and if it couldn't be Friday night, it was Saturday, that I would come back home. And I would come stay at my parents' house, and I'd go to church. And I'd come and I'd go to church. I rededicated my life back to God. I got resaved all over again, which was necessary. And then 2015 came and God had to push me back home, because I knew I was moving back home. That I had no questions and qualms about, but he had to force me sooner to move back home because I got fired from my job, because I got lied on and then I got fired. That was my out. That was like, you have no reason to be up here anymore. Move back home. So I moved back home. I actually moved in with my grandmother because my grandmother was living by herself, which I didn't like. I could have moved back in my parents' house, but I decided to move in with my grandmother because she was in that house by herself. I knew she had the space. She was there by herself. That I decided to do. It just made the more sense for me. And from then, everything just started to blossom and started to take off. And then my husband and I reconnect. We start talking. We start dating. We end up getting married. All of these things. Then it comes to all that time, y'all. I'm PK, right? Doing all those things as PK, my whole testimony, my whole experiences. So now I get married. My husband was in ministry. He was in ministry before we got married. So then the dynamic changes from I'm now not just PK, the pastor's daughter, I'm now also the assistant pastor's wife now. So I said all that to say, and to give my testimony of being a PK, that not all PKs have the same stories, have the same testimonies, have the same experiences. This is not a one-size-fit-all thing. Now, don't get me wrong. As a PK, we do have a higher standard that we're called to, and we do need to be respectful and mindful of that and the things we're doing and the things we're saying because of the position that we're in. It does matter what we do, but still we are human beings, and it shouldn't be so rigid where we're not allowed to have a human mistake, a human mistake, a human moment, and be restored. Because there's a vast difference between making a mistake and setting yourself up to have made that mistake. There's vast difference between that and just a lifestyle. Because when you just choose to live how you want to live, that's not a mistake. You're just choosing to do what you want to do. Y'all mask it in, who can judge me? Only God can judge me. This, that, and the third. And I'm not throwing the we're human cloak out there to excuse that either. Because as a PK, I get tired of hearing that, oh, I'm a human. Duh. But I mean it in the sense of, we like some of the same things y'all like. We'll do some of the same things y'all do. We're not up here on this pedestal where, oh, I didn't know y'all did that. I didn't know y'all laughed. I didn't know y'all had fun. I didn't know y'all like to go to the bowling alley. I didn't know y'all like to watch movies. Oh, I didn't know y'all ate chicken. Oh, I didn't know. We're human beings. We like to enjoy life. Everything we do is not always church related. We live lives. We have fun. We have families. We go. We do. Come on, y'all. So, in my whole experience, being a PK really has not been a horrible thing. It's been a very honorable thing. I'm definitely grateful for the position. I'm grateful for the lessons and the things that I've learned in this. It just hasn't been all that bad. It really hasn't. A lot of times it's put out there that being a PK is just the most horrible thing in the world, and the stuff that really goes on in the church is this, and why should we listen to them? Why do we have to trust them when they're all doing this? It's not all that bad. It's not. There are things here and there. In my experiences, there were things here and there. But overall, it really hasn't been that bad. It really hasn't been that bad. And of course, there's the perks that come along with it. The respect that you get, the honor that you get, because people are looking up to you and they respect you off the sheer fact of who your parent is. So respecting you is respecting your parent, which is not a bad thing. Of course, the special seats that you get when you go certain places, you get to just roll in because you with the pastor. Get to sit at the pastor's table and eat the good food off the china and not have to eat off the plastic plates and forks and stuff. And I ain't above plastic plates and forks, but hey, if I get to eat off the nice crystal, I'm gonna eat off the nice crystal. But it really isn't that bad. It hasn't been that bad. I just wanted to share my experience, the PK experience from my side of it, that it really hasn't been that bad. Overall, all you other PKs that are out there with me, we can get through this. It's just all in how we manage it. It's all in how we respond to it. It's how we respect the position and not take advantage of it and not be bullies with it and not walk around entitled because we are so-and-so's kid. We don't have to make it hard. We just make it hard. Grow, adjust, learn. It's that simple. It's that simple. Respect the position that you're in. And that's the basis of a lot of things. Of course, love and respect. When you respect something, everything else falls into place because you treat it the way you're supposed to treat it. You react and respond to it the way you're supposed to react and respond to it. And any little hiccups and things, people are more willing to grow with you and adjust with you and forgive you and be and work with you, as opposed to just you're always in something. And of course, we all need to work on our own soul salvations. Our own personal relationships with Jesus are the most important things. And that's the only thing that's really going to help you get through being a PK. And so that the pressures and the expectations and the weight of it don't weigh you down so much that you do like I did and that you're out there rebelling. Or you're out there just living however you want to live because you're trying to distance yourself from something. You're trying to distance yourself from the identity, and your identity is in him anyway. So this was my experience, my testimony, the PK experience. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Please leave in the comments anything that you have to say, any feedback. Are there any PKs who watched this in your experience, from your viewpoint? Can you relate to any of the things that I said here? Leave me a comment, let me know. And as always, guys, please like this video. It really does help me out a lot. I'm a new channel here, so it really does help me out. Subscribe, share it, let everybody else know, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care, guys.